22 people online. So I think we'll go ahead and get started, and we may have some more people join in as we move along. Well, I hope everyone's recovering well after the forum last week. It was nice to see some of you and hear some of your voices at the forum. So this is our Volatiles focus group meeting, which we would ordinarily have in person at the forum, but virtual is the next best thing. And so this is going to be pretty informal. We may or may not take the whole hour. And I see lots of familiar names and some new to me names. So thanks everyone for dialing in. And just to get things started, actually, well, first of all, can everyone see my slides okay? Can someone confirm that you guys are seeing my slides?
I'm seeing them.
Yeah,
okay.
we see them.
All right, thanks, Bill. And I think that was Jen or maybe Kristin. Well, thanks.
Yes.
All right, so so we have a nice number of people. So it looks like we have 22 people, so we have time to go around and do a round of introductions. And so this is something we would usually do in person. Feel free to, so I think all of you might be on mute by default when you dialed in. So I am going to, I'll start and then I will call on people in the order in which I see you in my participants list. But what I'd like to do is just go around and give everyone a chance to introduce themselves briefly. So, so tell us what your name is, where you work, what your interest in volatiles is, and then something interesting about yourself, which can be absolutely anything you like. All right, so so I will get started, and then we'll move down the participants list. So my name's Parvati Prem. I am a member of the Planetary Exploration Group at APL in Maryland. I do mostly computational modeling, and I'm interested in the origin of lunar volatiles and volatile transport in the exosphere. So I've done some work modeling comet impacts as a source of water to the lunar poles, and trying to understand what the lunar exosphere looks like today and might have looked like in the past. And something interesting about myself, I have to try and come up with a new one every time we do this. Well, you know, right after this meeting, in fact, half an hour after this meeting, I am off to get my annual haircut. So I'm very excited about that. And I think that's interesting. All right, and we'll just go down the participants list here, and you know, turn your microphone on. Feel free to turn your video on or off, up to you. But actually, the next person I see on the list is Ricky Guest from Survey. So Ricky, since you're joining us, do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Sure, although I'm working on getting all the videos up from last week. So Ricky Guest, I'm Survey IT support, doing virtual collaboration. And what was it? So something interesting. I don't know, some of you may have known, I used to work actually on a cruise ship doing videos.
Huh, I did not know that. All right, we'll let Ricky get back to work. And next person I see on the participants list is Jim Head.
Hi, my name is Jim Head, and I'm a planetary geoscientist at Brown University. I'm really interested in planetary climate and planetary water cycles, and I'm specifically interested in what internal processes do to generate outgassing in volatiles and planetary atmospheres. I specifically like cold climates, and one reason as testimony that I've spent 5 full field seasons in Antarctica looking at cold climate geosciences and how water moves around in those environments. And I'm most recently interested in what these volcanic processes do to contribute to atmospheres on the moon, Mercury, and Mars and the Earth as a function of time. So I have a paper that's in review in GRL. If you get it, please be kind, which is forward modeling the volcanism on the moon and its peak contributions to forming a temporary atmosphere and also its ability to get volatiles to the poles. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. Michael Poston.
Wow, I was not expecting to be second. Okay.
Yeah, this is not in alphabetical order, so be prepared to be surprised, but it's the order I see you guys in.
Okay, hopefully that order remains static as people come and go. I'm Michael Poston. I'm a research scientist at Southwest Research Institute in San Antonio, Texas. I do primarily, with relation to the moon, I do laboratory experiments simulating kind of the diurnal cycle. So put some lunar regolith in, put some water on there, and then heat it up and watch it come off and derive the energies, which you can then stick into models on the moon. I'm also a LAMP team member as of a couple of years ago, or I guess officially a couple months ago, but I've been helping out since I got to SWIRI in 2018. So I'm thinking more and more about how LAMP relates to volatiles and supporting some tasks on that as well. Something interesting about yourself, a couple of you might already know this, but we foster cats. We have a small number right now in our house of only 11.
Oh, jeez.
I wish I could convince my husband to let me do that. Okay. All right, thanks, Michael. You have given me great hope and inspiration. All right, so next up on my list we have Casey. Casey Honeyball.
Oh, hi. So I'm Casey Honeyball. I'm a NASA postdoctoral program fellow sitting at NASA Goddard. I work on lunar volatiles studying water on the moon with the NASA Infrared Telescope, or NASA Infrared Facility Telescope. I can't get the acronym right. IRTF on Mauna Kea, as well as the Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy, SOFIA, which is an airborne telescope. And something interesting about me. That's hard. I have a lot of hobbies, such as scuba diving, flying, dancing, two-step. Yeah.
All right, so that's like all four, however many elements there are. Okay, so next up we have Chris Bennett.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep, sounds good.
Expecting my video also to come up saying it actually had worked. Okay, so I'm at the University of Central Florida, and I'm part of the Center for Lunar Asteroid Surface Science. I am one of those people who kind of does a lot of different things. I'm an experimentalist. I do some computational stuff as well, and also meteorite research. And so I'm generally interested in volatiles and space weathering sort of things in general. Something interesting, I have a story, I guess a little short story about like the work that I did in Tom Orlando's lab, where I actually got to work on some lunar samples. And unfortunately, we didn't get anything published in the end because we turned out to get, it took about a year to get a spectrum of absolutely nothing. And so that work was not published. But it's actually, it relates to some work that was done by some other researchers who ended up trying to get some measurements where they fired electrons at a lunar surface. And they did the same experiment. They didn't see a lot of things coming off. And so what they ended up doing was dumping sodium on it, pure pristine lunar samples. They dumped a bunch of sodium on it. And then they recorded these values of like the cross-section for sodium coming off of the lunar sample, which has been cited hundreds of times now. So interesting thing to do with a lunar sample once you get it. I wouldn't do that myself, but anyway, yeah.
All right. And next we have Cynthia Dinwiddie.
Cynthia typed because she has an environment she doesn't want to speak in.
Okay, sure, awesome. Yeah, thanks for the heads up, Michael. All right, so so Cynthia says she's typing her answers so as not to disturb her work partner who's in the middle of a telecon as well. But Cynthia is at Surrey, mainly interested in volatiles on Mars, with analog fieldwork in Koch Valley National Park, which is the least visited park in the U.S. National Park System. All right.
Where is it? I've never heard of it.
I don't know either. Yeah, we'll have to look that up. Or maybe.
Yes, but
yeah,
now
right.
she can be motivated to type it.
Yeah. All right. So,
AK. What is AK?
is that Alaska? No.
AK is
Yeah,
Alaska.
Alaska. Right. Yeah. Kristin would know. All right. All right. So once travel restrictions are up, that's where we're going. And next on the list, and looks like this is settling down into alphabetical order now, but we have Dawn Hooper. Dawn, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Dawn. Did you want to give a brief introduction?
Sorry, okay, I guess I can. My name is Don Barker. I'm a title.
Oh, wait. All right. No, go ahead, Dawn. So for a minute there, I thought you were Dawn Hooper. So we have two Dawns. But I don't want to interrupt you. So go right ahead, and we'll come back to Dawn.
That sounds fine. Yeah, like I was saying, I am titled as a space and lunar planetary scientist at the JSC, working with the Jacobs contract, and I heavily involved with the lunar dust group, and currently, and interested in volatiles across the board, from resources to how they will interact with all surface hardware and equipment. And I think I'll cover it for now.
All right, sounds good. And Dawn Hooper? Dawn, if you're there. All right, so we'll come back to our second Dawn. And we'll move on for now to Elspeth Peterson. Elspeth, are you there? Looks like you're on mute.
Hello?
Hey, hi.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, thank you for your patience. I didn't know. I've never talked on Zoom before. So.
Congratulations and welcome to Zoom.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Elspeth Peterson. You pronounced my name right, so hooray. I work for NASA at Kennedy Space Center. I'm interested in volatiles because I work in situ resource utilization, and so I feel like everything that we do is going to involve dealing with volatiles, especially, collecting water and things like that. So knowing what's there and how to prepare for it is going to be really necessary. Something interesting about me is this is kind of my second career. My first one was in animal ecology / biology. So I've worked in a zoo and stuff like that. So I love biology and that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, one of my best friends when I was in school was called Elspeth. So it's a
oh yeah.
Yeah. Haven't seen her in a long time. All right. So this was like in 3rd or 4th grade, I think. Okay. So Ed Patrick.
I think I got my stuff on here.
Yep, we see you, we hear you.
My name is Ed Patrick. I work at Southwest Research Institute in San Antonio. We have better tacos than those people up north.
Indeed.
So my interest in volatile spans from, basically arises from my experience in ultra-high vacuum and the space environment simulation. I spent 33 years keeping dirt out of vacuum, and now I'm intentionally putting it inside vacuum systems. But I'm with Chris. I like to make my mistakes with my simulants before I bombard actual lunar samples. So something interesting, in another life, I spent 13 years in the construction industry, building countertops and cabinets in the family business. That's why I'm frequently seen with a tape measure on my belt. But
very interesting. I'm finding out a lot about people today. All right, and next on the list we have Junichi Hariyama.
Hello. This is Junichi Hariyama from Japan, JAXA. Now the 3 a.m., so the very early morning, sorry. And actually, I was working for the JAXA, and so I'm very interested in how human beings explore this planetary system, and also how we can expand our activity beyond the moon, beyond the Earth, and beyond the moon, and to the space. From this point, I'm very interested in detection the volatiles on the moon. But to be honest, I'm not so confident for the existence of the polar ice. But I would like to very interested in exploration. And also I'm very interested in volatiles, not only for the polar region, but also the everywhere on the surface of the moon. And especially I'm very interested in how much the volatiles can be contained in the lavas. And before all time, I thought the moon was very anhydrous, no water. But the recent data this data told us there must be much water even in the surface of the lower or middle latitudes. So that now I'm very interested in exploration of the lava tube, and perhaps lavas of the lava tube may contain some volatiles. So that I'm very interested in volatile these groups. And finally, I would like to contribute on how human beings going to the moon, Mars, and beyond these celestial bodies. So that please, I would like to please tell me your knowledge and experience, so that I would like to realize some exploration. That's all. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Junichi, and thanks for dialing in at such an awkward time. We're glad you could join us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next we have Jen Heldman.
Hello, I'm Jen Heldman. I work at NASA Ames Research Center in the Division of Space Sciences and Astrobiology in the Planetary Systems branch. My interest in volatiles is both scientific, the emplacement and evolution of volatiles in the polar regions on the moon, and also from the human exploration side. I'm very interested in the potential for using these volatiles as resources to enable sustained human exploration, and how what we find will feed into the human architecture for how we go back to the moon in a sustainable way, forward to the moon. Something interesting about myself, I also love Mars, and I know this is a lunar group, but I love Mars too. And I currently have a giant excavator and skid steer in my backyard. Because if you can't go to the field right now, I'm bringing the field to me for various reasons. So it's very interesting to learn, and it's a good analog for ISRU excavation and construction. I'm learning a lot.
All right. And next up we have John Koch. And John, you might be on mute if you're trying to speak. Okay, we'll try coming back to John, and we'll move ahead to Kristin Loosener.
Hi, my name is Kristin Loosener. I'm just now became a fourth year grad student at New Mexico State University down in Las Cruces. I grew up just shy of the Arctic Circle up in Alaska. So I currently am modeling seasonally shadowed regions. And I grew up basically in a seasonally shadowed region. So when I started thinking about this project, it was immediately really interesting to me. And I've got a lot of personal investment in polar regions. So I've really enjoyed starting looking at volatiles at the lunar poles. And I guess that's also something interesting about me is that I grew up in Alaska. I still call it home. And yeah, I'll go with that for my something interesting.
All right, and Kristin also won third prize this year in the student poster competition. So congratulations, Kristin, for
Thank you very much.
Volatiles. All right.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Liang Wang.
Hi, my name is Liang Wang. I'm from Princeton University. Most of my work actually is not on the lunar sciences, actually more on planetary magnetospheres, plasma physics. So my interest in volatile is that I want to understand the role of like plasmas on the formation or history of it, and particularly in from the solar wind and such things. Interesting thing about myself, I cannot say much, but I do help on organizing a community sustained agriculture farm. So maybe that's interesting for some. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, and next we have Marcella Roth.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, you sound good.
Awesome. So I'm Marcella Roth, and I'm at Lockheed Martin. I'm a planetary research scientist, and I'm interested in ISRUs for human exploration, volatile transport, and also changes in volatiles after human landing. Something interesting about myself is I bake wedding cakes as a hobby.
Oh wow, we have lots of interesting facts coming out today. That's amazing. And next we have Melissa Roth. Melissa, you might be on mute.
Can you hear me through the phone?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I'm having technical difficulties, so I guess that's something interesting.
No worries.
But my name is Melissa Roth. I work at Off Planet Research, and we produce lunar regolith and icy regolith simulants, complete component testing, and conduct research on regolith and icy regolith characteristics in ISRU. So our interest in volatiles is any new information influences our work. And so we're really excited to get some ground truth from the South Pole. Something else interesting about me is that I started my first D&D campaign less than a year ago, and with the influx of COVID and virtual meetings, I am now on 3 very different campaigns. So it's been interesting.
All right, OJ Tucker.
Hi, I'm OJ Tucker. I work at NASA Goddard in the Solar System Exploration Division. And my interest in volatiles are, in general, I'm interested in how rarefaction affects the escape of volatiles from planetary atmospheres and surfaces. Regarding the moon, I'm interested in how volatiles have been lost through atmospheric escape over its lifetime, and also how the solar wind generates the exosphere. I'm not particularly interesting, but I was named after O.J. Simpson, Orenthal James Simpson, before the whole Bronco incident. So.
All right. And next we have Philip Phipps.
Hey, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Philip Phipps. I'm a postdoc at UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, working at Goddard Space Flight Center. My interest in volatiles stems from my interest in the space weathering of the lunar surface. something interesting about myself. I like sailing, and I like camping as well, and just like staying out overnight on boats and stuff. Thanks.
All right, so well, here's hoping you can get back to the boat soon. If well, I know I guess that's allowed in Maryland. So so yeah. So well, either ways, wishing you all the best out there in the outdoors. And okay, and so I'm just sorry, folks. I have trouble multitasking, which is why I sound like I'm losing my mind. But all right, we will go back. So it looks like John got his mic working. So so we'll go back to John. John Karch. And I see you're unmuted, but I don't hear you for some reason. Is it just me, or can anyone else hear John?
No, I don't hear him either.
Okay.
There might be a second mute if he has a hard connected microphone that has its own mute. That's a possibility.
All right, let's give John a couple more seconds. So John, in case it doesn't work, go ahead and type in the chat if that works better. So I do see you're unmuted now, but it's just, yeah. All right, well, sorry about that. You know, technology can be funny sometimes. And I see Don Hooper was also having microphone problems. And so he has his introduction in the chat. Don works for the Alamo Community Colleges District in San Antonio, teaching geology and astronomy, and the WEX Foundation, which does space STEM work and has a growing research base. Don is interested in lunar volatiles because in the future, they wish to work with such matters as lunar dust detection in various scenarios, related topics ranging from regolith simulants to habitat construction, and he's also published Mars work. All right, awesome. So I'm glad we could get folks in the chat, even if not in on the microphone. And then going back to my participants list, next up we have Rosemary Killen.
Okay, I'm Rosemary Killen. I think I'm best known in this community as the leader. We are a survey team and we study volatiles, plasmas, radiation, and dust. I've been studying planetary exospheres for quite a while. I was on the Mercury messenger team with the MASS team studying the exosphere. And that was a lot of fun. And we're still working together actually on messenger data. On the moon, I do ground-based observations of sodium a lot. We've been doing that for a long time. I talked on Friday about our observations. And I also like to do modeling. I wrote a paper on the G values, which tell you the emission intensities of all of the species. So I'm interested not just in sodium, but in all of the species that are in the exosphere, where the volatiles come from and where do they go, that sort of thing. So I'm at NASA Goddard. I guess I skipped that part. Something interesting about myself isn't really about myself. I'm really proud of my daughter. She just won a California pole dancing competition. And if you've never seen pole dancing as a sport, you really should. They're just remarkable athletes, and I was just very proud that she got third place, but I was just very proud of her.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Congratulations to her. And next we have Ryan Smith.
Hello, I'm Ryan Smith. I'm an engineer who works on scientific instrumentation. I'm based in Rutherford Appleton Laboratory in the UK. So one of the missions that I'm quite heavily involved with at the moment is the Pittams instrument that's going to be on CLIPS 1. But I'm quite interested in volatiles because it's what these missions going to look like in the future. How we're going to get these instruments that we're building to the places we want, and that's what I'm super interested in. The thing that that's interesting about me is I'm a scout leader. There you go. Let's use that. That's the one I usually go for.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. And next we have Satinder.
Okay, just trying to get the video.
Yeah, we hear you.
You can hear me, yeah? Cool. Yeah. Okay, so my name's Satinder. I'm basically a grad student in the UK, an institute called Cranfield University, looking at space resource utilization. Kind of main interest is seeing how adaptive systems can be. So can systems be designed that can deal with different terrains, different planetary bodies, different locations, environmental conditions, and ability in extracting resources. So, so my interest in volatiles is linked to that. I'm also interested in volatiles in sort of pyroclastic gases and pyroclastic flows from a science point of view, as well as space resource point of view. So kind of in looking at adaptive systems, sort of ended up looking at space resource beneficiation systems, the idea of separate minerals before any major sort of chemical processing. Is it possible to reduce or control particle size distribution? Does that help different parts of the chain, the ISIU chain? So that's kind of my current interest in looking into that. I'm in Canada for 5 months on a research placement at Carleton University, but because of the lockdown, I'm still waiting for the labs to open. I was due back in UK this Saturday coming, but it looks like I'm going to be here for quite a few more months. But it's all good. It's fun, and I'm enjoying just trying to get myself prepared for the labs to reopen. Something interesting about myself, well, actually not by myself, my nephew, he turns 18 today, and so I'm gonna, after this conference, I'm gonna join up with the family and wish him a happy birthday online. The internet is amazing, so I'm looking forward to doing that. Quite proud of him as well. He's done really well in the exams, and that's it. Yeah, looking forward to hearing from everyone else.
Awesome. Well, happy birthday to him. Lots of achievements today.
Thank you very much.
And I see John managed to type his introduction in the chat. And John, I've been pronouncing your last name Karj. Tell me if that's wrong. Tell us all if that's wrong, because since we don't have you over the mic. But John is a scientist in the Space Science and Astrobiology Division at NASA Ames. He's also spent some time working on policy in DC at NASA headquarters and the Office of Management and Budget. John's interests in volatiles are both regarding questions about their history and their potential as resources. And an interesting thing is that he too hopes to have a haircut this year, so high five. And moving on down the list, next up we have Stephen Wood.
Hello. I work at Planetary Science Institute, although I'm based in Seattle. My interest in volatiles goes, especially on the moon, goes way back. I was involved with work with David Page and Ashwin Vasavada, doing some of the early thermal modeling of the environments at the poles of Mercury and the moon back in the early 90s. But I've been interested since, and especially in the regolith component and the regolith thermal properties and how it affects the stability of volatiles. Something interesting about me is that if my grandfather had taken the name of his stepfather when his mom remarried, my name would be Stephen Mars. So that would have probably changed my research a little bit.
All right. Very interesting indeed. And next we have Tim Livengood.
Hi, so yeah, I'm Tim Livengood. I work at University of Maryland and Goddard Space Flight Center, or really at Goddard for Maryland or something like that. I started working on volatiles with Lend on LRO because I needed a job, and it's led me to hold unpopular views about the amount of water on the moon on the high side. So I'm getting out of the neutron business and moving to submillimeter spectroscopy, where everybody likes each other and all the answers are easy, I guess. But I've been all over the solar system as a spectroscopist, so I like adding the moon to that. An interesting thing about me is not really about me, but unlike some of the other people here, I have never been to Alaska. But there is a town in Alaska that shares a name with me. And whenever I get the chance, I send spies to take pictures of Livengood, Alaska, which I gather is back down to a permanent population of 12 people. So if anyone would like to volunteer to go by Livengood, Alaska and take pictures of it for me, I will reward you with gratitude. That's it.
All right, there you go. Sounds like an offer that can't be refused. And I'm just scrolling back up the list to see if we missed anyone before we get back to Bill Farrell, who's last but not least. So, but before Bill, others, Deepak?
Hi, Parvati.
Hi.
Adarsh here. Let me turn my video and see if it works. Hello.
Yeah, we see you.
Good to see you. My area of research of interest is dust, moon, anything aerosols, and volatiles, of course. Personal interest is in, I developed a method in 1970s, and this is a book, it just came out last, can you see the book? No, no, now you can see
Yeah,
it.
now we can see it. Yes, it's the solar Oriole method.
It's a very unique method, very simple, very inexpensive, and I'm hoping that this will be used. We have used it to detect remote sensing of aerosol size distribution very accurately and very inexpensively. Essentially, it's you can see it's done by my co-author. He worked with me for 33 years, almost. P. Wang and myself, we wrote the book, just came out. So we are now pushing for seeing how it can be used for the moon or any other planetary body, because it uses spherical atmosphere, and it can also uses us within, it takes the image of the sun, around the sun up to 15 degrees is what we need. That's called the aureole, the sun's solar aureole. And so if it can be seen through an atmosphere, it can very accurately retrieve aerosol size distribution, very important. And then after that, you can find out other properties of aerosols, like refractive index, the complex refractive index. And the other aspect that we are doing, I am the president of Science and Technology Corporation, STC, which is now the 40th year. And so we work at NASA Ames quite a lot, and as well as NASA Langley Research Center and other NASA centers also, and also for the Army. So we do work on anything to do with aerosols, whether they are in the artificial aerosols or whether they are atmospheric aerosols, we work on them. So for the Army, you can understand, it has to do with aerosols that are in the battle space and also for the Navy, etc. But the method is the same. We also have a very small, one of my guys, I've worked with him, he's doing in 1 kilogram size of mass spectrometer. which can be used for the, ideally suited for the lunar atmosphere, because you don't need a vacuum pump, because that adds the weight. But the electronics and all that is only about less than 1 kilogram. It said, can we fit it into your pocket, in fact? And that is developed over by Dr. Srivastava, who is one of our colleagues who works with me. And he retired from JPL, and then he developed this unique instrument. He's still working on it. We are hoping to see if we can continue getting funding for that. That's my interest in volatiles. So we are working on in situ as well as remote sensing of atmospheric aerosols and other gases.
Mm-hmm.
My interest, of course, is art. And so I organized the first space arts workshop at NASA Ames, a research park. And that was in 2013, and we are trying to get another one going sometime soon, if I can attract enough, if I can find a place to hold it.
Uh-huh.
That's
Awesome.
it.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And then last, but certainly not least, we have Bill Farrell.
Oh, least is good. Sometimes least is good.
No,
See,
no,
I'm
Bill,
Bill Farrell. I work at I'm in the Solar System Exploration Division at NASA Goddard. I work with Rosemary Killen on the LEADER project, and my interest in volatiles are the plasma volatile connection. You know, how plasmas, particularly at the moon, interact with the volatiles, for example, ice, and how plasmas can be both a source of volatiles and losses, and the desorption processes, how molecules stick to surfaces. And my interest outside of work actually is similar to the last speakers. I'm actually do some artwork. I do some pastels, and for a while I was president of the Goddard Art Club, which actually kind of like what the last speaker said. We disbanded because just so few people stopped, attended. But that's, so we had sort of the same problems in terms of getting a quorum together for people on our center to do art.
Oh, yeah, Bill, I had no idea you were an artist, but that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. Gives me something to do at night.
Uh-huh. All right, so so that's the most important part of the meeting. I always think the best thing about these, and and I think virtual worked very well, almost as well as in person. Because I think it's getting to know each other is always the most important part. So I just have a couple more slides, and then feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions in between, but this was really just an informal gathering for all of us to see who else is working on volatiles and get to talk a bit about what we're interested in. But the Survey Volatiles focus group also doubles as a group called the Friends of Lunar Volatiles, which was founded by my colleague Dana Hurley at APL. And so the Friends of Lunar Volatiles have been active for, I think, at least, well, I don't know, maybe almost 6 years now. I'll have to check on that. But as a group, we're open to anyone with an interest in the subject. Participation is completely voluntary, and you can be as active or sort of sit back and receive the emails. You can participate at any level you wish to. We have a monthly teleconference. So this is actually our July teleconference. And that occurs the second week of every month. And we alternate between Mondays, 2 to 3 p.m. US Eastern Time on odd numbered months. So 7 would be July. And on even numbered months, we meet still the second week of the month, but from 4 to 5 p.m. US Eastern Time on Tuesdays. And so at the teleconferences, this is sort of a special edition that usually we would have a science presentation and volunteers for those presentations are always also most welcome. It's usually someone talking about work that they've recently published or something that they've recently presented on, or just anything else that they'd like to share with the group. And then we also have time on the agenda to discuss any other matters that might be of interest to the community. We have a mailing list. You can find the subscription information at the Survey focus groups page, and I will post this link in the chat as well. We currently have about, it's about 230 when I checked a few days ago. So we have many subscribers to the list from all kinds of institutions, different parts of the world, different career stages. So everyone is welcome to subscribe. It's a fairly low traffic mailing list. And as I said, the subscription information, I'm going to post that link in the chat once I close the slides. In terms of what we do, well, we have the monthly meetings. We try and meet in person or online, as we're doing now, around the time of the Exploration Science Forum. That's just a tradition we sort of continued. And basically, this group exists to do whatever it can to serve the community. So I've sort of been coordinating things for the last 2 years or so. But this group really is whatever all of you want it to be. It's a community-driven group. I'm here to sort of help logistics-wise and keep the ball rolling. But we can be whatever you want the group to be. Some things we've done in the past include a workshop without walls on lunar volatiles that we had. This was actually in 2013. We hope to have another one this year, but this was sort of when the pandemic was really ramping up, so we decided to hold off on that for a while. In the past, we've had we've worked with the journal Icarus to release a special issue on lunar volatiles, and the last one was in 2013 after this workshop without walls. So maybe it's getting time to be another one, even though I know people have a lot on their plates right now. A few years ago, we also organized a letter of support for the Resource Prospector mission, which is now in its second reincarnation as the Viper mission, which I'm sure all of us are looking forward to. And then recently, many of us helped in putting together a white paper for the Planetary Science Decadal Survey, which is going to be submitted tomorrow morning. So this is some of the things we've done in the past, but again, the group exists to serve the community in whatever way we can. So so we're here for each other, and we're here to make sure that all of us are supported in our careers, and we have an opportunity to talk to others with shared interests and keep each other going. And then here is a photo of a permanently shadowed crater, which is actually my cat, and I took this yesterday. All right, so I wanted to just take this opportunity to give a shout out to everyone who's presented their work at a Friends of Lunar Volatiles meeting over the last year or so. So we've had a good year. We've had presentations from Brant Jones, Margaret Landis, Casey Honeyball, Noje Tucker, who are on the call today, Jacob Close, Ian Garrick Bethel, Julie Mitchell, Rosemary Killen, Colin Hamill, I'm still in the process of lining up speakers for the rest of the year. I do have I do have someone tentatively lined up for August, but the calendar is wide open after that. So let me know if you have work you'd like to share or you'd like to volunteer someone else. Let me know, and we will get them on the agenda. Up here is in the corners is a list of meetings that we spent doing something else rather than having a science presentation. So that was the year that's been. In terms of upcoming events, I'm sure there's more. Just a few that are sort of coming up in the imminent future. There is going to be a lunar, so some of you might know that there was a lunar surface science workshop that was planned for, I think it was late April. Since that in-person workshop had to be canceled, what's happening instead is something that that I think is a really interesting and productive way to do it. That workshop is now going to be held as a series of virtual workshops. So on July 29th, there is going to be a half-day workshop on volatiles. And actually, Tom Orlando and myself are helping with coordinating some of the scheduling and logistics for that. So watch out for more information about that. And I'll try and post that link in the chat as well. But that will be on July 29th. On July 30th, there will be there are two back-to-back sessions. The one on July 30th is going to be about sample collection and curation and all things samples. But so look out for announcements about that. The agenda will be very similar to what was originally planned for the in-person workshop in April, but with some adjustments so that it's a half-day standalone session. Then of course in the US we have the National Academy's Planetary Science Decadal Survey coming up. Science white papers are due tomorrow, and I know many of you are working on some great white papers, and hopefully, you know, we'll as that process gets underway, there'll be more and more opportunities to participate. And then I wanted to throw it out to people on the call, but are there any other events that that you know of that are coming up that I missed here?
Hi, Parvati, this is Rosemary. As you probably know, we were going to have a radiation workshop this spring, and we've decided to put that off until next spring, but we will be having it. So
Okay.
TBD.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Rosemary. Anyone else have any upcoming events or meetings or anything else that people should note while we have everyone gathered here? All right, so I see Melissa Roth says in the chat, not volatile specific, but the Moon Society conference is July 19th to 20th. So I didn't know about that. So thanks, Melissa. That might be something else to check out. And I know in terms of bigger conferences, both and this is US meetings, but both the DPS meeting and AGU are going to be virtual. So I'm sure folks who are planning to go were aware of that. All right, well, I just, let me put up my last slide, and you know, if you think of anything else as well, let me know. But basically, you know, we have around 5 minutes. So so I just I threw in a bunch of general questions here, but essentially, you know, is there anything else anyone would like to share while we have everyone gathered here? And I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so that I can post a couple of those links I mentioned in the chat. But yeah, but I'd love to know if you know, if there's anything else that's particularly on people's minds. Is there anything you think the Volatiles focus group should focus on over the next year or so? How are you managing, you know, in these crazy times? And yeah, anything else? So I'm gonna stop talking for a moment while I find some of these links. But we have a few more minutes. So is there anything else that anyone wanted to share?
Okay, sorry if I missed it, but did anyone mention the Moon Dialogue salons yet?
No, Jen, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, maybe I can send you the link, we can distribute it, but it's been put together and has really high attendance and really interesting and thoughtful discussions about various topics related to lunar exploration. And it's been a really great group so far, and there are online salons that you can register and go to and hear those discussions. The last one was last week, and then those talks and panel discussions are put online. They're recorded and posted, so you can watch the ones that have already been done as well. So I'll send you the link, Parvati, if you want to share it with folks.
Yeah, or Jen, if you have it handy, maybe you could put it in the chat, and that would be great as well. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I've been to a couple of those, and yeah, I agree, they were interesting. Anything else? All right, I'm searching for another link here. Okay, so in the chat window, I put the links for the Survey Focus Groups page and the Lunar Surface Science workshop that is coming up. So the website hasn't been updated yet, but there's going to be a Volatiles focus session on July 29th, so watch out for that. And let's see, it is 2:58 on my clock, so any final thoughts? So I think the main thing I wanted to do today was just to give everyone a chance to see each other, hear each other's voices, and you know, get to see who else is in the room. You know, please do sign up for the Friends of Lunar Volatiles mailing list if you know, if you're interested in staying in touch and continuing to talk about all things volatiles. And I see Jen posted the link to Moon Dialogues as well, so thanks, Jen. But otherwise, any final thoughts or comments or concerns?
Yeah, Parvati, I was just wondering if we are already on the Friends of Lunar Volatiles, do we need to sign up for the focus group as well? Are they totally separate lists?
Oh no, it's the, thanks, Rosie, good question. No, so it's the same list. So if you go to that page, there will be, and scroll down to Volatiles, it'll have a sentence that says to subscribe, join the mailing list here, and when you click here, it's the same thing.
Okay,
so yeah,
thank you.
so if you're already on the list, then you don't need to sign up again. Anything else?
Okay, I have a question from Junichi. May I?
Yeah, go ahead, Junichi.
Do you, the United States have some polar region exploration have already planned, or is there any? I know the Artemis, but I'm doubting. It's perhaps very difficult for humans to touch on the polar region directly from the in 5 years or something. But how do you think? How about unmanned exploration? Do you have a plan or no? Actually, I know that next year Russia will land on the some region. They say a polar region, but I heard it is about 70 latitude, so that not so polar region. But and also the China will return back some samples next year, perhaps. And but of course it's not the polar region, but middle latitude. But I think the latitude area has a lot of the some samples which contains some waters, anything. And also Japan is now considering some exploration to the moon. And next year we will land on the moon. And but the main target is olivine and not water. But also we JAXA and ISRO, Indian institution, collaboratively aim to land to the polar region. We have not decided, but we are now collaborating and discussing. So I want to know the condition of the United States. Do you have any information?
Yeah, thanks, Junichi. That's a big question. So I'm going to try and answer it in brief, since we're almost at 3 p.m. and I know you should get back to sleep and people have other meetings. But just as a quick answer. So there are a few different plans that I know of. So there are a few orbital small sat missions that are coming up. So this is going to be Lunar Trailblazer, Lunar Ice Cube, Lunar Flashlight, and Luna Map. In terms of landed exploration, and this is focusing on unmanned or uncrewed exploration, since you asked. There's the Viper mission, which is going to the lunar poles, and that's in a few years or so. And then as you mentioned, there's Artemis. And so that's kind of all I know of. And and this is something that in the workshop on July 29th, I'm hoping we can talk more about this. But those are some plans off the top of my head that I know of. So Viper, I think, is the next big uncrewed mission that's going to land on the surface. And then there are a lot of smaller orbital missions which are kind of going after these targeted science questions. So Lunar Map is aiming to get high resolution neutron suppression maps for subsurface hydrogen, and the others are doing various kinds of spectroscopy. So that's a very quick answer. And I know people probably have other meetings, and we're just past 3, and I need to go and get my haircut, which I'm excited about. So I'm gonna call the meeting there. But thank you everyone for dialing in. It was good to hear your voices, see your faces. Do sign up to the mailing list if you'd like to keep staying in touch, and we will catch up maybe about a month from now, or whenever you can make it to one of the focus group meetings. Okay. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thanks.